having a conversation right now with Jennifer Burkhuizen following the Communications Minister, Stella Tembisa Ndabeni-Abrahams, saying that she wants to know why a 42-year-old man with a previous criminal conviction was employed at the post office. She has launched an investigation into the man's appointment after the man was arrested in connection with the rape and murder charge of UCT student Uyinene Mrwetjana. To discuss that issue, as I mentioned, Jennifer Burkhuizen, Communications Manager at the Managed Integrity Evaluation. So before the break, as I was putting it to you, people are worried about that kind of language from the minister saying, what does the minister mean? Does that mean because the gentleman had a previous criminal record, he was not eligible to be hired?
Well, from MIE's perspective, we don't condone any form of criminal activity, of course. However, each position that becomes available and the people that apply for it, the position needs to be taken into account with their background. So looking, if they do have a criminal record, you need to think, will it have an effect on the position that they are applying for? I mean, if you are employing somebody with a violent background, they might have 2 or 3 cases against them being violent. You don't want that person within your organization, again, because it poses a risk to the people that they're working with. You don't want people with a rape background working with children, or even women for that matter. However, it becomes, again, the decision of the hiring organization to make sure that they have all the facts before they make that decision. I'm not saying that if you have a criminal record that you cannot ever work again.
Yes.
However, when going through the background process, it's also very important for people to be upfront about having a criminal record. The reason for that is if you sit in an interview and you say, I don't have a criminal record, and you go through the process and it comes to light that you were previously convicted, first of all, you are not sitting well with the company already because you lied during the interview.
Is it a dismissible offense?
Well, you haven't been...
If it's found after the fact.
If it's found out after the fact, it's definitely a dismissible offense. But if it was a minor offense, you can maybe use the interview as an opportunity to explain why it happened. As I mentioned earlier, it might have happened when you were 18, 19 years old. You might have been a student, you went out one night, things got a bit out of hand, and now you're sitting with...
Do you go that far in terms of background checks?
Yes, we check everything. And I mean, if you have a criminal record and it hasn't been expunged for any reason, then that criminal record stays for you forever. Then you can rather explain. I mean, if you were pulled off for DUI maybe. I mean, I'm not saying that it's correct, but you can still employ somebody to work in finance if they've had a DUI from 10, 15 years ago. But again, you need to weigh up the position and the crime against them. Sexual assault, murder, I mean, that really is something that companies need to take into consideration.
So at this point, you're saying it's purely at the discretion of the hiring company.
Most definitely.
What you as an organization, you would give them the report and say, this is our finding, and then it's up to you. So you don't suggest to them what they should do.
Yes, the thing is, companies comes to MIE and, or they use any other reputable background screening company, and they ask for these various checks. We then supply them with the feedback, and then they need to make the final decision, taking all of these factors into consideration.
So in this particular case, where the minister is now saying, okay, let's find out what actually happened here, where would they need to start and where would they need to go?
Well, first of all, they can contact the South African Police Service to find out what is happening, because there was various news articles saying that he had a criminal offense for violence. He had a violence criminal background, and there was also a pending case, or they pulled the case back for rape. Yes. Or sexual offense. I mean, if that was found out beforehand, then I do believe that the South African Post Office should have looked at hiring this person in a different light, because again, they're working with the public, they're working with their colleagues, yeah. And their lives then become is in jeopardy because he's violent.
While we're there, does the employer then become legally liable? I mean, if something like that has happened, you have now put this human being into your system, a life has been lost. Can the family of this young lady now come back and hold the post office actually criminally liable?
I cannot 100% answer that in terms of whether they are liable, but they should be held accountable. They really should be held accountable, because they put that person in that position, and a young girl with the rest of her life ahead of her, yeah, was murdered. She didn't die; she was murdered, and it's a big tragedy, and it's something that could have been avoided. if the necessary checks were done and if they went through a rigorous process, then this could have been avoided.
Jennifer, much appreciated.